It's really important that we continue getting this message out to our community, and thanks to this contingent, we're going to be able to do that. You know, I've got so many thoughts about what has transpired over the last 8 months personally, but more importantly, the work that this district has done, that this board has done for well over a year, to really set us in a direction where we believe the outcome is going to be very, very positive for our kids. And so, you know, we talk about P2G and Pathway to Greatness, and, you know, for me, to summarize, I just love kids, and I know our board does too, and when I think about the outcomes here, we call them trade-ups, we call them different things, but it's life-changing stuff for our kids. It's opportunity where opportunity doesn't currently exist. It helps get kids out of cycles that are not productive. And I could not be more pleased with the way our board has been steadfast through this process. I could not be more pleased with our staff. And when I say our staff, I'm talking about our support staff, our teachers, our principals. It has been a community effort. Lots of encouragement from our community, parents who have said, hey, this hurts, but we believe that this is the best thing for our kids. And so we're just looking forward to continuing this. Tomorrow night we begin, as you all know, at U.S. Grant for community meeting number 1 in our second round of community meetings. So I am just so excited to begin the implementation process. We know we've got a little ways to go before that occurs, but I am so excited about our progress and the direction that we're headed.
Sean, what do you expect from folks beginning tomorrow night? What are you seeking?
What I'm seeking is for us to transfer information. People need information. You know, tomorrow night and then the next 5 nights, I think we're taking Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, but so Wednesday, Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, what we really want to do is get information to our parents and our communities. And at the same time, we are expecting emotion. We know that this is tough. I mean, you know, if I'm a mom, a dad, and something seems to be working in my life, my kids come home happy, get off the bus and things are good. I like my teacher. And suddenly the word comes down that we're closing a school and repurposing, or we're reconfiguring a school. That's tough news. And so we want to balance our excitement and what we believe is good for kids with an acknowledgement of, we know this stinks in some ways. And so we want to be very quick to respond to that. We want to take care of people. Part of taking care of people is providing as much information as we can, and so that is the intent of these community meetings. Let's get information to them, let's listen to them, emotion and all, and let's see if we can respond, and we believe we can respond. So we're kind of several things we're anticipating, but we know emotion has to be part of that.
Speaking with some parents that were here tonight, even some district staff, it was a lot thrown at them.
Sure it was.
It was a lot to digest. And I know that they did say that they were going to be going to these upcoming meetings.
Yeah.
But what would you have to say to that? I mean, it was fairly overwhelming because of all the different options, different permutations of if not A, then B, if not B, then C.
So what I would say to them is, first, thanks for coming, thanks for paying attention, thanks for engaging with us. I would say that we will do our very best to make sure that all documents, all presentations, all information is accessible to them so they can take their time in their living room or in their car flipping back through all this information. It is a lot, but we believe that we've got to move this forward. You know, we've had people suggest to us over the last 8 months, I'm sure over the last year, that, hey, this is too fast. Slow down, let's take another year, and let's make sure everybody's on the same page. And what we believe there is we cannot wait another year to do right by our kids and our families. We think the time is now. You know, in various forms, I have been listening to this conversation for well over 20 years about what is going on in Oklahoma City. This board said, we're tired of talking about it. We're going to adopt policy. We're going to get teams in place. We're going to contract with ADG, and we're going to move this needle. Let's stop talking about things. And I admire that. I appreciate that. So with that comes some of this overwhelm. I mean, we got the same feedback. You guys remember when we started releasing data. So we had these 9 criteria, and so every 2 or 3 weeks, we'd get data on proximity and how many roads and waterways and bridges are within a 2-mile radius of every elementary school, and we would give it back to the community as a transparency step. So we are basically, I'm basically saying, I think I can speak for Paula, that we're kind of trading that, hey, let's take our time and make sure everybody's on the same page with, we got to do something now. Let's stop talking about it and let's move this needle. And so I don't know if all that resonates with moms and dads, but man, I'm just excited to get to this next step because we believe it's going to change things. Yeah, it was probably a terrible answer. But
well, there was a sense of optimism of those that I talked to, but still cautiousness. The district's been down this road before. What's to say that this is the time that it's actually going to succeed?
Well, that's a great question. What I've told our board, I've told our team, our staff, and anybody that would listen, if we don't do a great job, which we will, but if we don't do a great job of executing and following through, I'm just the next guy with a plan. We've had guys and ladies with plans before over the years, and some of them panned out at some level, some of them didn't. So our total focus is on getting to the implementation and the follow-through. We want to be able to say, see here, we do have a counselor in every elementary school. We have a PE teacher, an art teacher, and a music teacher in every elementary school. And then that making a difference on the academic side. And at the end of the day, we expect that to happen. As we do these things and address these things, we will see the academic needle move for our kids. We know that to be true. So for us, it is about execution and follow-through. It's not about the plan. It's a good plan. Lots of people have good plans. We got to get to the end of this. So, yeah.
Sean, most of the majority of the school closures involve elementary schools. Can you talk about why that was, and what does it say about the district, where it's at now?
So really, it's a great observation. It really bubbled up from the data. And so when we have these 9 criteria and we begin seeing the data that results from ADG moving around to all 85, 86 of our schools, where we saw the greatest challenge was in the elementary schools. So the elementary schools are the ones who, you know, a school, for example, built for 800 kids, and we've got 180 kids in the building. Not just one, but many who kind of fall in that range. We have, on the other end of that, we have an elementary school that is pushing up against 1,000 kids and the challenges that brings. So really it was just a matter of analyzing the data. What does the data tell us based upon the school board criteria? And where it fell clearly, as you pointed out, this is an elementary school issue by and large, but also touches some of the middle schools. So it's just where the data took us.
How will you pick the school or the plan that you think is best?
It's an exchange between the navigator group. Remember we talked about that community group. Every board member has a representative on that group. We've looked at community leaders from all areas of our school district. And so it's an engagement between me and them. Okay, they're the ones who have really been analyzing data, talking about, you know, are there certain data points that have more weight than other data points? And so we now look at these pretty well refined 3 pathways, any one of which, by the way, we believe is a viable pathway. We can make any one work. So now I will engage with the navigator group, and we will have these conversations about kind of what's the community saying, what's the input we're receiving, what seems to make the most sense. Is the $1.5 million additional bank dollars compared to C to A worth closing 3 more schools and repurposing other schools? So is the bang there for the buck, or is it B? So we will go through these robust conversations about how do we narrow from 3 to 1? And man, I'm looking forward to that, to be honest with you. I mean, no, you're good. You're good.
Is the bank a metaphor, or is it like you're really putting money in?
No, it is true dollars that once we close the school,
Right.
we don't pay utilities, we don't pay insurance, we don't pay some of the other operational dollars. So it's really not like there's an exchange here where, okay, let's take the money, and it is just moving money into sub-accounts as we budget.
I didn't know if you meant like an endowment or something like that.
No, I'm sorry. I'm saying like banked money. We're banking money. Yeah.
My main question, I'm sorry, my main question is, let's talk about where we are right now.
Okay.
And I literally mean where we physically are right now. Northeast High School,
Yeah.
Northeast Academy currently would, under these proposals, become the new home for arguably the flagship high school of the district.
Many would say that, yes.
And it is not lost on folks that it would be going from northwest Oklahoma City to here. It would double the applications opportunities you have. Chairwoman, Superintendent, you guys kind of had a little back and forth about how there's still some things to work out there.
Sure.
Let's talk 1,000-foot level. What does it mean to be able to do that and increase this school site from 105 kids in middle school and 115 in high school to how many would it be potentially now?
So at the middle school, it would double from approximately 500 to 1,000 seats in that building. And then here, I mean, this building probably holds a couple thousand kids. So it goes from 500 high school kids to a couple thousand if we occupied every space in this building. And so we'll have to do, we don't think that's going to happen overnight. So we'll have an additional planning time to kind of get ready to see what this looks like, more 3 to 5 years. But, you know, I'll defer to you. Just great question.
For the board, it's about stopping the dying of the district and building capacity. And that's where we made our decision a couple of years ago, is that we can keep doing things the way we're doing, but we're losing numbers of kids. And at the height, this district was about 71,000. And we believe that if we can build quality seats in the schools that are strong, and we can better utilize all of our elementary schools, all of our middle schools, then we can feed that, and we will be a district that people seek after. And so for us, it's bringing the whole district together and saying, we have some great things and we're going to build seats.
And just to follow up on this, it would be remiss not to point out that if that happened, both of these schools would become much more racially diverse than they are now. You know, Class N SAS is predominantly Caucasian.
That's not actually accurate. Class N SAS,
Pretty diverse.
Yeah, is one of our most diverse schools in the district,
Okay,
truthfully.
I'm very sorry.
Yes.
But Northeast is certainly predominantly African American, and you have, you know, typically students are often more enlightened than maybe even adults. There might be concerns on both sides of that coin in terms of, well, I'm not familiar with Northeast OKC, now my kid's going to go over there, or I am very familiar with Northeast OKC and I don't want my neighborhood gentrified. So how do you kind of talk about those potential fears or concerns in the community?
You know, for me, I had a child at SAS at one point, and I've got another one that may go. I don't know. But I think that if we want to move OKCPS into the future, we have to move into the future. We truly have to look at what demographics are doing, and the kids, our kids are being raised in an age of diversity. And so I think that we're going to see that across the board. I don't think it's switching the demographics. I think it's really modeling more of what we already see coming. And so I think it's progress, and it's strong progress, and it offers opportunity for all of our children to know what the workforce is going to look like, just to be a better patriot of our diverse nation, for lack of a better word.
So let me add to that a little bit. We know conclusively through research that diverse schools are great schools. Kids from all different walks of life, particularly ethnicity, racially, socioeconomically diverse, when they merge, they love each other, they take care of each other. Academic needle moves in a very positive way. So one of our, if you remember in the presentation, one of our guiding principles is that we believe that racially, socioeconomically diverse schools are good, because we know that the interaction between kids and families is good, and we know that the outcomes will follow. So we embrace that. When we see a class in SAS, when we see a Northwest class who are two examples of diverse schools, we like that. And so we have full confidence in our kids as they merge and as cultures come together. Our kids are going to be great with each other. It's some of the other things that you talked about, some of the fears, some of the, you know, the unknowns. I'm not familiar with that area of town. We believe that as a district we can overcome that with good communication, with opportunities to come and walk campuses. So we're looking forward to that piece of this, and that's part of the implementation we talked about. But now we want to embrace that. We think that's a good thing.
Can you touch on the impact to staff and teachers? Do we know if there are going to be any layoffs because of this closure?
We don't believe there will be. You know, we've committed to all of our employee groups that we're going to do everything within our power as a district to protect employment. We know that we're not expecting to lose a ton of kids. We're just moving them. So teachers have to follow those kids. Assistant principals, when I have an elementary school that goes from 180 kids to 480 kids, I may need additional administrative help there. So we're going to move people to follow kids. Kind of the tough part is when we think about our head principals. If you close a school, that position goes away. And so what are we going to do with our head principals? And so we've got a very well-defined plan worked out for them. It includes early retirement incentive opportunity. It includes, through our collective bargaining agreement, if we move a head principal to an assistant principal for 1 year, they retain their principal salary so that we can transition them into a different position. So lots of different things that we're thinking about, but we feel really good about moving people around and building really solid teams of adults to take care of kids in every single school. Great question.
Touch on the concept of increasing capacity and not necessarily increasing class sizes.
So class sizes is a function of staffing. So if I'm in a little school or a big school, class size is dependent upon how many teachers I hire. So whether it's a giant school that has elementary school has 800 kids in it or 180 kids in it, it's the staffing that matters. So that if we target, let's throw a number out, at kindergarten, first, second grade, we want 22 kids in a class. We know what our enrollment's going to be. We know how many teachers we have to hire to get to that number. So it's really more about how many people we hire to get class sizes small than it is about how big the school is or how small the school is.
Paula, could you summarize the board's main concerns? What do you think the main concerns were today?
Super question. I think it's just a little bit of the board really finally getting to this point and being like, did we think about it all? Was our policy inclusive? Are we leaving anybody out? I think it's just that final push of we want to make sure that kids are taken care of and that all kids are taken care of, whether that be the kids that are struggling the most or the kids that are, you know, accelerating past where they should be accelerating. But I think that that's what you saw on the board was just kind of a little bit of a fear of excitement, but fear that, you know, did we leave something out? You know, and then I think also, you know, was just trying to say how proud we are of the district for doing the hard work. I mean, this work has been hard, and it's not been, I mean, the board has pushed and pushed and pushed for, we knew we were underutilized, but we did not want to make decisions based on a number count in a school. We wanted to make sure that the future demographic studies and what was good for kids was happening. So I think it was you just kind of seeing us going like, oh my gosh, look what's happening here. This is real. Okay, now these are the things we want to make sure we didn't forget to say.
Dr. McDaniel, do you want to answer that question? What did you hear from the board, concern-wise?
Well, we set out on this course, at least when I stepped in 8 months ago, and they talked to me a lot about equity. We don't want it you know, where you live in the city to dictate what opportunity you get. So that was constant. And so my concern going through this was that I brought that to the board with our team, that whatever planning and whatever execution we do would lead to that equity. So one of the concerns I heard from them was that let's make sure that we do this right. I mean, that's something that Paula has said, hey, we're doing a lot of work here. We got to get this right. This is not a deal where, you know, we got it 70% right. I mean, we got to get this right. And so I was concerned about that. I heard that loudly and clearly. And so we turned over every rock. We engaged those that we really thought could contribute to the conversation. So the equity piece was big. I think one of the concerns that I've heard from multiple board members has been, as we go through this process, we need to be sensitive to how different pieces of the community are feeling about this. I mean, the last thing we want to do is do something we anticipate is going to have a positive outcome, but then people leave the district because they're mad. And so we've been sensitive about that. Sensitive meaning we've been trying to over-communicate. We've been trying to be very inclusive in this conversation. I mean, going around between all of us and talking to literally thousands of people in large group, small group. Gosh, it's been awesome. So that was another thing, is just, you know, we want to be very, I keep using the word sensitive, to the process and make sure we're not missing something that would run off a bunch of people because they're so upset with this. There are probably 2 or 3 others, but probably those 2 are big ones that I've heard pretty consistently.